them out on track to show you what it's like up here for the starter ahead of the racing that will be taking place a little later today. So for those of you that watch, it looks like someone just sits up here and presses a button. So you can see here the starter actually has access to the timing chart, so they can see who is out on track, where they are and how many laps. They also have access to all the buttons here which allow them to show the boards, the race start. There's also for the various different red flags, yellow flags and whatever else. But here are a couple of other things you may not be aware of, because this point here where I am is one of the best vantage points to be able to communicate with the drivers. Now, what you do there is checkered flag, obviously. Everyone wants to see that first. But a couple of other flags that are in here. Red flag, that means we're stopping the session. Yellow flag means that through the next sector there is an issue on track and you need to be cautious. But why is there an Australian flag, you wonder? Well, if all of these lights fail, the regulations for Motorsport Australia allow a race start to be conducted with the use of dropping of an Australian national flag. Well, that's why that one's there. Another critical one here is the mechanical black flag, often known as the meatball flag. That's shown with a race number, which is over here behind you, and I won't make you fall down the steps there, Hut. But you'll notice there's a number of boards over here with other information. Safety car boards there, start delayed, lots of other information. Communication's critical here at Motorsport. You have radio communication between teams and drivers, but to be able to communicate between race control and the drivers happens around the circuit. But one of the best vantage points is also up here in the crow's nest, not only where you do the race start, but you can communicate with the drivers. I thought, Kralsey, that we'd give you a little bit of an insight up here, and I promised our lovely Motorsport Australia officials I wouldn't press the buttons this time.
Well, Cameron, pushing people's buttons is what you love more than anything else, so your self-control is outstanding. Hey, do me a favour, Cam, if you can you just grab the meatball flag out again, please? Because it's a worthy topic, because we do see it shown quite often. But for those that might not be aware, Cam actually does a little bit of motor racing here or there. How familiar are you with this flag when your improved production Mazda RX-7 has a few little issues here and there?
There's actually a couple of flags I was used to, Kralsey. This one, there's also one called a bad sportsman's flag that's in here somewhere as well, and a black flag. The black flag means race control wants to have a chat to you. Back in my day, Kralsey, I used to get out of the car and just head straight to race control because I knew the call was coming at some stage.
And Cameron, while we've got you, in all seriousness, great vantage point there looking down to the final corner, but I don't know if Hut can swing around your cameraman the other way and point up towards turn one. The vantage point from up there is extraordinary, isn't it? That little hump under the bridge as they go up there into turn one. It's much more pronounced, isn't it, than it looks on TV?
Hey, Kralsey, I've also done something else here. I've stolen the green flag, so I'll be waving that very shortly. So you watch that. Look at this. Am I okay?
Oh, yeah. You do the whole lot.
There you go. I'm doing the whole lot. Looks like I'm going to be busy here, boys, while you go qualifying.
This is concerning that they've given you some tools. I don't know how I feel about this. Cameron van der Dungen is on the tools. And we should say, our great volunteer officials, this is not a paid job for Cameron. Usually he doesn't get out of bed without sending an invoice, so that is a very, very good thing. He an outstanding volunteer in our sport, though, in all seriousness. And full credit to Pete Hutt, who's the cameraman there, not only having to work with Cam, but doing a nice job in pretty confined circumstances up there in the flag stand. Cool insight into the way the sport operates. And well done to Cameron for explaining that, just going through some of the flags that communicate to our drivers while they're on the racetrack.
You know what, I'd like to see him wave it like IndyCar, NASCAR spec, where you basically break your wrist as you're trying to...
It needs to be energetic. He's got to work for it.
I think so, yeah.
He has denied one of our loyal Motorsport Australia volunteers a gig waving that flag for the next 15 minutes, so he's got to put some energy in, Thomas.
First impressions, Kralsey. He has to nail it, or he's out.
Sacked.
The pressure's on Cameron van der Dungen here, and that was Aratoon having a little moment there out of the pits. Not too costly. So all the cars, as you said, 29 GT4 cars. This class has just been booming, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Over the last couple of years, and it's just been going from strength to strength with all the different makes, manufacturers. And we've seen teams switching mid-season from different manufacturers. And
here we go. Here we go. Let's see. He's waving the green flag. Oh, energy is good.
Really lean into it there, Cameron. Really lean into it. That's the air. Very nice.
I think they've got the impression it could be green. There he is, top right of screen.
I think he's waving it that fast you can't even tell that it's green. Oh, look at the smile.
Look how happy he is. He's found his happy place. Well, to Rusty and Charlie in pit lane, unfortunately, you're down a man for the rest of the day, I think, because Cam is going to go and join our volunteers. I think, frankly, we should send him around to 11 or 12 at the back of the circuit, spend some time on a flag point out there.
And we just leave him there?
Yeah, he can stay there all day.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Absolutely.
Take a packed lunch.
That's awesome. What a good insight, and thank you to our team, Motorsport Australia officials here. Sam Rower, the South Australian Motor Racing Officials Organisation, long time stalwarts in South Australia and do a huge amount of work. I think you can stay up there and just keep waving it. So, qualifying for Monochrome GT4 Australia. If you were with us earlier today, you would have seen GT3 racing, the GT World Challenge Oz, and the format is very simple. One driver does one qualifying session, the other will do the other. There's 2 1-hour races. It's a bit of a sweat up there, I think, Cam. Needs to get back in the gym. Should be going running with you in the morning. Exercise those flag-waving muscles.
So happy with himself.
Really is.
So proud.
3 classes in the championship, and they are all ferociously competitive this year. Rylan Gray and George Medici lead the way in the silver class in their Ford Mustang. 11 points back to Tom Heyman and Max Gagan, the Method Motorsport McLaren. Tim Lay and Cody Bircher next in the BMW in 4th place. Nash Morris and Zoe Woods, who are having a ripper season for TechWorks in the Porsche Cayman, are 4th in the silver class. Silver Am is being led by Aaron Seaton and Jason Gomersall. They've got just 10 points, though, back to Cameron Crick and Dean Campbell, who are having a ripper second half of the season. Daniel Frugas and Tim Berryman dropped 1 spot in that championship after the most recent round, and then leading the way in the AM class is Jacob Lawrence as the cars fly past with Super Cheap Auto wall cam on the run up towards turn 1.
Now, on the way into the track yesterday when we arrived, we saw Shane Smollen's Porsche getting towed away from the circuit, so I wasn't quite sure what happened there, but we can clearly see the number 1 Porsche back out on the track, so whatever that issue is, that's been resolved. And we've just got under 10 minutes remaining. Now, Shane's had a great year. He got an outright win up at Queensland Raceway earlier in the year, which was absolutely fantastic. So then he got was it a puncture, I think, with 1 lap to go last time out. So there's been some highs and lows for the number 1 Porsche. At the moment, Heyman out on top. And that battle, like you touched on, the championship battle, 11 points between Heyman, Gagan, that combination in the Method Motorsport McLaren up against the George Medici and Rylan Gray Ford Mustang. They're on 144 points, and Heyman and Gagan on 133, sorry. Rusty?
Thomas, as you know, overnight, Ford Performance, as we know it, has kind of rebranded to Ford Racing, and we are benefiting from that in this country this weekend with an import, in a very good sense, in Jensen Altsman. Hey, welcome to the Bend. How are you finding it, and what's this all been like?
It's been incredible, right? I've been over the moon really since I got off the airplane, other than the lack of sleep, but it's been super cool. The Wallace Motorsports gang has been super welcoming, even just in preparation for this over the last couple of weeks. Yeah, it's been a blast. This is an amazing facility. Definitely a warm welcome to Australia, and certainly enticing for me to come back.
It's great that you're here to come and play. You're off the back too of some success back home at Road America recently. Tell us about the broader program within Ford that you're involved in as a junior.
Yeah, it's been opening the door for a lot of opportunities, right? Getting to come here, getting to go to Le Mans and run Mustang Challenge, and it's been cool to have my hand in all 3 of the platforms. We're really lucky with Ford Racing to provide 3 different platforms that all share the same car. So you really have a lot of DNA that transfers over, and I think that helps the drivers a lot. Yeah, we're rolling for sure in our GT4 back home. We've got 4 pole positions in a row, and win at a Road America a couple races ago, so it's been going well.
Great stuff. Before we let you go, how did the whole thing kind of come together? I think the Medici family were involved in some way too?
Yeah, I've been working with a guy named Carl McGinn back in the States about working some programs together, and through the Midekis kind of formed a relationship, and I met the Midekis in Daytona back in January when they were out for the 24 hours, so it just kind of all came to be, and the Wallaces have been super welcoming, and I couldn't imagine anyone else coming out and run here with.
Great stuff. We're thrilled to have you here. Thank you for being with us. We'll let you get back on the pit wall. So there you go. Overnight we learned that Daniel Ricciardo is very much at the forefront of that now Ford Racing rebrand, but really cool to have that young man here with us this weekend.
Yeah, thanks, Rusty. He's a great young guy too, and I'm sure he'll be giving young Jack Wallace some tips of the trade, being a a factory Ford junior, originally from Phoenix, now lives in Charlotte, North Carolina, where everyone lives in motorsport over in that part of the world, and actually said he spent some time on the Ford Racing Simulator to learn the racetrack. You were actually there just a couple of weeks ago as well.
I was, yeah. I didn't happen to have a crack at the bend on the simulator. I got to drive Virginia International Raceway, which was pretty cool. Very, more of an Australian-style circuit, to be honest. No runoff and very bumpy, tricky corners, lots of undulation, and that was a lot of fun to get to go on those. Ford Racing now being rebranded, a global rebrand, which was Ford Performance. And yeah, like Greg Russ mentioned, pretty cool to see Daniel Ricciardo and a global ambassador as part of that. So a lot of fun over there, and it's cool to have him here, and like I said, a warm welcome. I don't know about a warm welcome, I'd say more of a windy, chilly welcome at the Bend Motorsport Park. But at the moment, the highest place Ford in qualifying, as it stands, is Aaron Cameron in 4th place, and they were the fastest in pre-qualifying yesterday afternoon. At the moment, Jared Hughes out on top in the 87 888 Mercedes on a 54.4. Then we go back to what is a huge margin, a 54.4, which is Zach Suter in that McLaren. So it's Mercedes, McLaren, Audi now with Blake Purdy taking 4th spot. Then it's a bunch of Fords with Cameron, Aaron Seaton, Roland Gray, Cameron Crick. So then we round out the top 10 with Nash Morris, I should say, the TechWorks Porsche.
Lots of different brands, 7 different brands in the top 10 in that pre-qualifying session yesterday. It's been very much the theme Monochrome GT4 Australia this year. This team had a pole position at Sydney Motorsport Park with Hughesy behind the wheel. Summer Rintoul celebrated a birthday that weekend, 18th birthday, and got on the podium. It's been a really good season for them. They're 5th in the championship at the moment, 93 points. Still potential perhaps for a top 3 if things go well here. And then in the final round at Hampton Downs in early November. Just fractions of a second. I bumped into Hughesy. I bumped into him on the stairs in the Welcome Centre as you go up from where all the cool cars are displayed here at the Bend Motorsport Park. And you go upstairs to where the restaurant and bar is, the hotel rooms, and where we're working from as he bails into pit lane. And there's a really good dynamic between he and Summer. And he was leaning on the balustrade talking to me, and 2 steps further down behind him, unseen by him, was Summer mimicking him and taking the absolute mickey, and it was very funny. They've got a great relationship, and they're both rising stars of our sport, which is great to see. And it's cool that 888 Race Engineering, who, for everything they've done in supercars, and they're now the factory Ford team in supercars as well, moving forward into 26, they are the Mercedes AMG distributor in this part of the world, hence them running the Merc in Monochrome GT4 Australia. Here's Zach Suter. He's behind the wheel of the tough lift McLaren. They've had a really solid season. He's leading the Silver AM class and his 2nd outright on the road. Tom Heyman next. Blake Purdy, the South Australian, in 4th place, going well. Aaron Cameron is 5th, and he is 2nd in Silver AM. The AM class being led by Shane Smolin, 19th position at the moment. You can tell that. Car number 1, the red background on his number on the timing totem.
The BMWs so far have really been struggling this weekend, haven't they, Crailsy? The fastest BMW is Cody Bircher, down in 13th place, albeit 1.3 seconds off the pace. So there's about a second covering the top 10, and then about just under 2 seconds covering the top 18 with Jet Murray down there in 18th spot.
So as we said, 3 different championships in Monochrome GT4 Australia, and they're playing for their own race within a race essentially, but they always all keep an eye on the outright standings, especially a Silver AM car. They love to be up there at an outright level and grab that outright race victory if they can. As we watch car 25, Tom Heyman and young Max Gagan, they've had 4 pole positions this season. They have been the best of the qualifiers. Medicki and Gray have had 2 poles this season. 4 different cars have grabbed pole position in Silver class. 4 different cars have grabbed pole in Silver AM as well. Shows you how broad the depth of these fields are this year. No improvement. That car, McLaren, remains 3rd.
It's the Roland Gray Mustang in the lane with 2.5 minutes to go. So they're leaving it, either they've called it for the session or, yeah, they have Roland Gray, you can see, stepping out there. And I was just going to go back to that Super Cheap Auto wall cam. A few cars getting very close to that camera. We sort of saw that. There's Purdy going off in the background of the final corner. Does he go quicker? Does he improve? No, 54.9, so a little bit slower on that lap. But at the moment, Jared Hughes doing the job, 54.4. And I was just going to touch on the last race at Sandown. As we know, it was a crazy race. It was dry, then it rained, and then it dried up. Jake Camilleri took the spoils in the Ford Mustang. Nash Morris and Zoe Woods was second, and Roland Gray and Medeki were third. So once we get into racing, as it stands, with the Heyman car in third, they're in front of Roland Gray, and they don't have any extra compensation time. So if we go back to our standings, they're 11 points behind Roland Gray. So this could be critical as it stands in qualifying, Crailsy.
So it's going to potentially close that championship margin up, heading into what are the final 4 races of this year's Monochrome GT4 Australia Championship. 29 cars in the field, by the way. The top 9 covered by a second, but the top 7 cars, less than 0.4 of a second, down to Roland Gray in 7th place at a 54.8, with Hughesy on top at the moment at a 54.4, looking for the second silver class pole of the year in Mercedes AMG. Remember what happened in GT World Challenge this morning in qualifying 1? It was a Mercedes AMG on top. Those cars suit this venue. It doesn't matter if it's GT3 or GT4. That package with the Merc, with their high-speed stability that those cars have got. They're a heavier car relative to some of their rivals, a lot of torque as well, especially the bi-turbo V8 that they run in the GT4 car. They're in pretty good shape. And as the clock ticks down, there's not a lot of colour on our timing screen indicating any improvement in terms of lap time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have called it now, and we saw Roland Gray a minute and a half ago getting out of the car there, so they've parked it. So if there's no other improvements, they're going to stay in position number 7. And Heyman, which is their championship rivals, they're currently sitting in 3rd place. So a top 3 for them could prove to be pivotal for tomorrow's race.
The other one to watch is Cody Berkshire and Tim Mayer down in 13th position, with Cody having done the lap time in this session at a 55.7, 1.3 seconds away from the top spot. And they're 3rd at the moment in the Silver Class Championship, 39 points away from the series lead, 25 points for a race win in Monochrome GT4 Australia. So they're already a full race behind the leaders in the class. They have got a job to do to keep themselves in the hunt going into the final round. Otherwise, they'll be fighting for a podium. Confirmation of results in qualifying 1. So silver pole goes to Hughes. Great job for the JGI 888 racing team and Mercedes. Zach Suter 2nd, but pole in silver AM. Go down to the bottom of the page, you'll find our AM class pole sitter in Shane Smollen, and 20th outright for Method Motorsport in the Porsche. A bunch of different brands inside that group. Mercedes, McLaren, Audi, Ford, Ginetta and Porsche in the top 10. Charlie?
I'm just going to have to interject this quick chat. Jared Hughes, congratulations. Pole, that's how you want to start the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. It's so I'll get this off. No, it was a good way to start. We struggled a little bit with the car yesterday, but Jesus over here worked his magic and made the car heaps better. So it felt awesome then. Was able to get the lap done pretty early, which was good. So yeah, give Summer a good car and hopefully she can go have a good crack.
And it really did look wonderful out there. Talk to us about the conditions, though. There's obviously a lot of wind picking up at the moment. Talk to us what it's like out there.
The wind picking up? Oh, I don't know. It's a little bit like a windshield on there. It's you can feel a little bit of wind over at the triple ride. It was pretty cool to feel that actually in these cars. It's good for next week moving to the supercar. I understand that, but the conditions are good. It's cold. These things love the cold. So yeah, it's just good to go out there and have a good send.
It's a very happy Jared Hughes.
Thanks,
Charlie, thank you. There's a lot of celebration happening here at the Tough Lift Racing team, and even from rivals congratulating them, because for you, Zach, it's been kind of a bit of a tough 12 months in some respects. Really positive stuff for you and for Glenn New and their congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, Rusty. No, it's an awesome day, mate. We to be honest, we've struggled with this car, and it came so late before the start of the season. We haven't done a lot of testing and that sort of thing, so it's a great car, I think, to get 90% of the way there, but the last 10%, just took a bit more time than what we sort of thought. But no, it's awesome. The car feels like it's it's the best it's felt all year. We're on top of things a little bit more now, and yeah, we'll see what happens this afternoon.
Is it you? Is it the team? Is it the place? What unlocked that little extra bit that you've been looking for?
Oh, the team. It's all the team. You know, we've just been working hard. It's especially back in the workshop. You know, my dad and my engineer Ruben Wong working really hard back behind the scenes just to get a bit more of an understanding about the car. And yeah, they've done a great job this weekend to put an amazing package together. Glenn's doing a great job too. He's about to head out as well. He was super fast yesterday. I think he was the fastest AM. So let's see what Glenn can achieve in this next one.
Big week coming up for you. We'll let you help him get strapped in. Thank you for talking to us. Congratulations. Some good highlights out of that session, boys.
Yeah, there was, Rusty. Lots of stories to tell, I think, as we go back. It was our own Cameron van der Dungen very enthusiastically waving the flag. Interestingly, we didn't see him for the rest of the session, so clearly having a little recovery. The Maguire's highlight showed that the Method Motorsport McLaren was in the mix with Tom Heyman behind the wheel. Great job, Zach Suter. Mentioned his team back there in Geelong. His dad, Shane, who's a bit of a legend in the sport, putting in the hard yards to prep that car. But it was Jared Hughes from the outset. Did it on his third of 5 laps in the session and then peeled to pit lane, and it was all done. The JGI car on pole position in Monochrome GT4 in the silver class. Zach Suter on top in silver AM. And the AM class pole, and down in 20th outright, was Shane Smollen in the Porsche. It all points towards a fascinating race for these guys, but the best thing is they've got another qualifying session to come. That's coming your way next. You're watching the Shannons Speed Series, the GT Festival at the Bend, here on the screens of 7.
Welcome back. We're about to go green on qualifying again for GT4. Nash Morris is alongside me though. Nash, top 10 at the end of that last qualifying session, but you don't seem overly pleased, mate. What happened out there?
I thought I did a lap of the gods and I ended up 10th, but you know, it is what it is. It's very hard to know where we're actually at with this kind of racing with all the BOP and stuff, but still smiling, still at the racetrack. Go see how Zoe Show goes out there now, and yeah.
Jeez, of all the years that I've been interviewing you, watching your development as a driver, you are now a pure professional these days, aren't you? It's like, 10th, not good enough anymore. I need to be on that front row wherever possible. But how have you enjoyed this rise, mate? Driving things like Trans Ams, driving things like supercars, and then enjoying some time in GT4. It's a really cool little category, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's an awesome category. I'm very thankful to the Woods family for bringing me along. Been pretty cool to share a car with Zoe. We grew up pretty young together, you know, through the ranks, and now we're sharing a car. It's pretty cool.
And we're here, we've got the double header really next weekend as well. Is any of your thoughts this weekend on next weekend? Is there anything you can take and carry through as momentum?
Oh, it's, you know, making my supercars debut next weekend is going to be pretty cool. And definitely some laps at the track before is definitely handy. So I'm still doing pit stops and stuff in this racing too, which is very good. It's going to come in handy for next weekend.
Are you still pinching yourself about what's coming next weekend?
Yeah, I only started racing about 5-6 years ago. I never really thought I'd make it here, so it's pretty cool.
Oh, mate, it's been awesome to watch the rise of you. Good luck next weekend, and we're going to go now to Richard Craill and Tom Randall.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Cam, and the Flash. What a great young bloke he is, doing good things. And I love the line, the Zoe Show, because Zoe Woods has been a show this year. She has been driving outstandingly, and the pair have been putting on a good performance in that TechWorks Racing Porsche. They sit fourth in the championship, qualified well, and a real potential for them to grab third away from Tim Lay and Cody Bircher in the race this afternoon, all going well. As we roll out for qualifying 2, so the second driver now behind the wheel of these cars, which means Dean Campbell, for example, takes over the wheel of the Ford Mustang there on screen from Cameron Crick. Ryan Hansford in the multi-spares car takes over from Aaron Cameron. And this is the start list, so you can see some of the names aboard in the various classes. Tim Lay will be driving the BMW out of Orange in the central west of New South Wales. Lockie Hennock. We'll see Max Gagan in the McLaren, and we'll see George Miedeke, or if you're Jensen Olsen, Miedeke, behind the wheel of the Libramax Mustang as well. Jack Wallace, will be Jensen behind the wheel of that car. Jack did qualifying 1, so we'll get to see the young American Ford Racing Junior behind the wheel of the Wallace Motorsport Ford Mustang in this session. His first crack at qualifying on these shores. It is qualifying 2 for Monochrome GT4 Australia here at Shell V-Power Motorsport Park, The Bends, in beautiful South Australia, where it has been cool, a little blustery. The temperature's starting to build as the day goes on. Tops in the mid-20s today forecast, and much the same for tomorrow. No rain in the forecast for either day across the racing program. So we build up again. Now, the theme in the first session, Tom, was that lap times were done on the third, potentially fourth push lap in qualifying, and then that was about all she wrote. So let's see how it plays out with the second drivers behind the wheel.
Plenty of Pirelli rubber now on the track as well, with GT World Challenge Australia out this morning. And we've had the first of 2 qualifying sessions for Monochrome GT4, which the spoils were taken by Jared Hughes in that 888 Mercedes, and I'm keen to see what Summer Rental can do in the car for this run as well. And they seem to wait a little bit longer in the lane, whether it was just a final tyre pressure adjustment, but they're going to be down the queue in terms of this outlap, and traffic is going to be a big talking point here.
Traffic is in pit lane as well. Rusty.
Just on that point, I reckon the Lubramax crew have deliberately waited to give the 35 a bit of space away from other cars. So it's only just starting to roll out of the lane now. But in fact, of course, the first of them are crossing the line, so that's not easy to integrate there. A couple of other quick updates for you. Had a word to Ryder Quinn. Steve Jackick is now at the wheel of that BMW. Ryder felt, guys, like he might have had another 4/10 in him in that car. There was more in it than what he was able to to deliver in that session. And I've also walked into Method Motorsport and had a word to Tom Heyman. Yesterday, they were chasing some sort of issue around rear suspension on that McLaren, and he said it made for both of the drivers on that car, made it very difficult to drive. The rear end of the car would want to move around, and at a place like the Ben Motorsport Park here, you need that to be working and planted, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely, Rusty, and with such a long lap and such long corners as well here, and when you've got a mix of those high-speed corners, you need to be able to trust the rear here, and we've seen how much of an effect the wind has. So if you're already loose from a tailwind and then the car's just not behaving and not complying in the rear, it makes it so challenging. You can't carry that entry speed, you can't trust the brake pedal, and then with how long this lap is, it just accumulates over that journey of 4.95 kilometres, and by the end of the lap, if you're losing half a tenth a corner from that, there's 9/10 of a second around this joint. So it can just be one small thing that's not working for you or you're not comfortable with, and what you just mentioned there, Rusty, with both drivers, if they're talking the same language, then you kind of know there's an issue. So it seems like today they've turned it around, because that first qualifying, you know, they were right up there as the other Method Motorsport, well, the 24 machine dropping a wheel to start the lap. And if we go back at the start of this lap prior, a minute and a half ago, we saw Mediki leaving the lane. So it's like they held that car while everyone else drove out of the pits to start the session. So a little bit of a different technique there, as there's the Ginetta in the lane, I think, leaving the lane.
That car running off the road, you mentioned the second Method Motorsport car. That's JP Drake driving that car. Former Australian Prototype Series champion out of South Australia. The Drake's supermarket train in this part of the world, and he's become a bit of a social media star as well. JP, very entertaining content. He got the call up to fill in for Nathan Morecambe in that seat this weekend alongside Lockie Hennock, so he's up to speed quite quickly. And P1 already, first lap, not really a representative lap time, but this is his first time in a GT4 car, but he is used to driving very, very rapid race cars in Prototype Series, high downforce, open top sports cars. So he'll be able to adapt quite quickly. And it's cool to have JP as part of the field this weekend with Method Motorsport. Chris Lillis on a good lap in the Porsche 777, the West Australian that shares that car with Nathan Callahan, two old mates who have been racing production cars together for a long time and made the step into GT4 this year. Zoe Woods is second, Summer Rintoul third, but no real representative lap times yet. Looking for something in the 55s, maybe mid-54s, based on what we saw earlier today.
Well, Maxi Gagan is starting to lay down the first sort of representative sectors with a 44.2 in that opening sector. Here is the 25 machine heading up to turn 13, and we're about to get our representative second split time, which is a 35.9, beg your pardon. So he's just going to catch that Ginetta, actually, that we saw leaving the lane. Hopefully isn't too costly. It's just ahead of him, and hopefully that Ginetta moves out of the way as he's flashing the headlights. Is Maxi Gagan getting right in behind the 29 of Rubus, as Rubus is on an out lap. So let's hope that he doesn't hold him up here. It's very close here on the exit. I think that is going to be pretty costly. So hopefully Gagan can get past him. He should still do a half-decent lap time. Goes to the top with a 56.4, but he'll know there's more time in that. In behind, we've got Marcus Liddell. He's second overall, a further 8/10 adrift. But this is when we're going to start to see those lap times tumble, Crailsy.
Yeah, so Gagan on top, 56.48. Liddell second. Ryan Hansford currently third. Monochrome GT4 Australia quali. And the lap times will continue to tumble. Little patch of sunshine up at turn 1 last time round. It is getting brighter now as well. Cloud maybe starting to burn off. Be really interesting if that track temperature actually starts to rocket up. Probably not in this session, but moving forward into the races and how the teams will adapt to that. The two Randall Racing BMWs were nose to tail down at 17.
I think that's Peter Lawrence going off there at the second last corner.
Got a win last time out. Did Pete in the AM class, and Jacob have been having a really entertaining battle all season long. Jake Camilleri's on a good lap He's currently last at the moment and rockets to second position, loving life in a Ford Mustang after making his debut in that car last time out. Replaced the Mercedes AMG with it in that stunning Mobil 1 livery, and Camilleri goes right to the front of the field. Gagan is on a good lap. George Miedeke also on a good lap at the moment as well. So the Mustang's starting to come to the front. In fact, at the moment, McLaren on provisional pole, 4 Fords are racked and stacked up and behind the Artura GT4 that leads the way.
Well, we saw this yesterday. The Fords were really fast up in practice 3 or pre-qualifying, so we'll see how they go here.
So Miedeke flying, looking to jump up the leaderboard. He's 16th at the moment in the final sector. Gagan quickest at a 55.8. Miedeke beats it though at a 55.6. So Ford bumps McLaren off the top spot in qualifying 2.
And Jake Camilleri, 43.8 in the first sector, so matching what Miedeke had just done on Mideke's 55.6. So Camilleri, our most recent race winner from Sandown, currently sitting in 4th position here as Altsman just goes up in a 3rd in the Ford as well. So it's 4 Fords in the top 5 as it stands here.
That's a great lap from the rookie, isn't it, from the young American. First time on these shores. A lot of car familiarity, but not racetrack. But he spent some time in the Ford Racing Simulator and has got up to speed very, very quickly. Of course, practice day here yesterday as well. So Miedeke, Gagan, Altsman, Camilleri, Liddell, Mustangs everywhere. Lawrence is next. Liddell quickest in the AM class, incidentally, in 5th outright. And Lawrence 2nd, that's Jacob. Summerhintel in 7th in the Mercedes AMG that's on pole in qualifying 1. Then Hansford and Tim Lay next.
Now, Miedeke was on a big first sector there, but he's rolled out of it. So I don't know whether he made a mistake or hit some traffic. Yeah, because he was purple in the first sector, but he's rolled out of it. So more time in that Lubramax Mustang, you would think, as Gagan goes personal best to the end of the 2nd sector. We're just following that car now, heading into the 2nd last corner, the penultimate corner. Such a tight corner. We see so many cars run off on the exit there. He's got a bit of clear track in front of him, so should not be an issue heading into the final corner. What can he do? Can he challenge? He's 2 tenths behind as it stands. Headlights beaming, heading down to the control line. Does it improve? It does, by 4 tenths over George Miedeke. So he's now got 3.5 tenths over 2nd place. So Gagan now back on top.
Looking for their 5th pole position of the Monochrome GT4 Australia season. Miedeke looking to improve as well. Summerhintel has gone to 3rd place. Good luck from Summer. Rusty.
Just had a word to Chris O'Toole and Andrew Miedeke on the pit wall there, guys, to confirm what you questioned on the previous lap. It was traffic that he came into, and then the intent was for him to leave the lane with some clear space on track. But we've got such a massive field here this weekend, it didn't quite time out the way they wanted.
Thanks, Rusty. Just looking at the driver tracker, there's only 1 car essentially in clean air, and it's Tim Lay, and he's around the back of the circuit at the moment, car 22. Everybody else is sort of jammed together in the first third of the lap. So finding clear racetrack is important. The 3 AR19 cars all locked together, the Mercedes AMGs. Gagan on top, great lap, 55.2. Miedeke looking to improve and starting a new flyer. Summerhintel, we touched on, has just jumped to 3rd place and has gone quicker again in the first sector, so there's more improvement coming from the 888 Racing Mercedes AMG. Altsman remains in 4th place. Camilleri remains in 5th. Here's Tim Lay. The best the BMW's gone all weekend. Right now, save it for qualifying. And into the final corner. This should be an improvement if his final sector is solid. Vastly experienced man from Orange.
It is an improvement, however, not an improvement in terms of position.
Jacob Lawrence still back behind Marcus Liddell, the 7th and 8th. Silver Am being led by Ryan Hansford, the Touring Car Masters champion, who's in 9th position at the moment in the multi-spares racing Ford Mustang. They will go to 2 cars, that team, at some point in the near future, as well as expanding their Touring Car Masters program. So he'll be in action here next weekend in the Tirana. Rintoul crosses the line, no improvement. That was the 4th lap in the session. We saw the best of the Pirelli tyre on lap 3 in qualifying 1. So I wonder if we've just started to tip over the edge now of what the tyre can deliver in terms of that 1 lap pace. The indicator for mine there, Thomas, is that all of the middle sectors are slower, and that's where all the high-speed, fast-flowing, high-grip parts of the racetrack are.
Yeah, well, the way this category is, depending on the car you're driving, it can suit those styles of corners, you know, or you've got cars that are more suited in obviously straight line handling, but then there's cars that are better under brakes, slow speed corners, or quicker, faster, more able to adapt through those high-speed corners. And this is a track where you've got a lot of long-loaded high-speed corners. That triple right, it's so demanding on that front left tyre. And then you go to a corner like turn 17 or turn 6, so tight, basically coming to, you know, 70 k's an hour minimum corner speed, a lot slower than what you would see in through those high-speed corners. So to try and have a car that can adapt to all those different styles of corners on such a smooth track is challenging. At the moment, it's the McLaren that's doing the job out in front. We saw a shot of George Medicki coming in the lane. I would say he's called it for the session with just under a minute remaining, so that'll be, as it stands, a front row start for them.
Here's the Zoe show as her teammate so excellently called her, Zoe Woods, 12th position at the moment in the TechWorks Racing Porsche. Marcus Amond, who is the young Finnish French driver who's the reigning Carrera Cup France champion, is here this weekend working with TechWorks, both on their Michelin Sprint Challenge program, but also just lending an eye over the GT4 stuff as well, I'm sure. He's a massively talented young kid. He'll be in action in Carrera Cup next weekend. Have that level of experience, even though he's just a young kid, will be very handy. Marcus Liddell jumps up some spots. He's up to 6th position now, and looks like he's going to grab the AM class pole actually in the 99 Motorsport Ford Mustang. He's just going through turn 1 now.
Well, he's got nearly a second on the next AM class driver, Jacob Lawrence. So Liddell's done a 56.7, 6th outright, and Jacob Lawrence has done a 57.67. So essentially 9/10 of a second up the road on the next closest AM class car.
Well, the other big margin is Silver Am. So Ryan Hansford in 8th position as the checkered flag flies on this session. So Hansford at a 57.2. Second in class is Dean Campbell at a 58.4. Down in 13th position at the moment, outright second in class. And there's a lot of cars between them for the start of the race. So the flag is out at the end of qualifying for Monochrome GT4 Australia. 2 interesting sessions setting the grids for our 2 1-hour races this weekend. And 5th pole position of the year for Method Motorsports. Tom Heyman and Max Gagan doing the job in that session. Rylan Gray and George Medicki next. Hughes and Rintoul in 3rd position for Mercedes-AMG. Jensen Altsman, welcome to Australia. P4, 2nd row of the grid. Very handy stuff from the Ford Racing Junior. AM class pole in that session went to Marcus Liddell. Silver AM class pole went to Ryan Hansford. Both those 2 cars well inside the top 10 overall. So the Maguire's highlights, an interesting grid in both races, I think, for Monochrome GT4 Australia. 29 cars are going to put on a great show here at the Bend this weekend. Pole position in race 1, Summer Rintoul backed it up superbly with 3rd place in the Mercedes-AMG for Triple Eight. Those 2 looking strong.
Yeah, absolutely. 1st and 3rd place in that Triple Eight Mercedes for Hughes and Rintoul, and that was that traffic that Medicki got, just rolled out of it there. So whether there's more in that car, we will never know. But Medicki finishing up in 2nd place. Gagan taking out the top spot in qualifying 2, and like Rusty touched on, they had what they believe was some sort of rear suspension issue yesterday. It seems to be sorted because they're going to be right in amongst it, and at the end of the day, Crailsey, can they take over the championship lead? That's the big question.
And the pressure is on, and there'll be a job to do. 1st and 2nd in the championship start, 1st and 2nd in this race, but in reverse order. So they are well and truly in the mix. Some other good performances there. I think Daniel Price did a lap time late in that session in the Audi R8, the Nippies car for Jam Motorsport, to get them to 9th position. And Jacob Lawrence was 2nd in the AM class, championship leader, in 10th place. Let's go down to pit lane. Here is Cam van der Dungen, and I think he's found lofty George Medicki.
Yeah, I always end up with George, who's way taller and makes me look way shorter. But George, I know it wasn't pole position, but front row is a really good qualifying session.
Yeah, absolutely. It could have gone a little bit better, but at the same time, when you're buried down this end of pit lane and there's a lot of traffic, it's just one of those things. So, yeah, if anything, I was probably just a little bit impatient in getting the tyre prepped and ready and caught some traffic there. But look, I think the front row is a good start, as you say, and we'll try and capitalise into turn one. And, you know, the Lubrimax Ford Racing now, Mustang, is hooked up, and I'm looking forward to going racing this afternoon.
So we'll talk about traffic very quickly, because we saw you hold until very late to roll, but you just didn't get that advantage, did you? The cars were already through. It's such a big field.
Yeah, in the back of my mind was how short the session is, you know, so I just went just a little bit too quick. I should have been a bit more patient, but I think staying was the right decision for being back this far in the lane, and then, you know, it was just up to me to execute, really, and as one of the few times I have it this year.
Well, then I want to ask you the last question here. We look ahead to a race start now. The advantage that your Ford Mustang has over a McLaren, you confident you can get in by turn one?
I'd like to think so. You know, we've got those bald eagles under the bonnet, and I'm pretty excited to let them loose. So, yeah, look, Ford builds a fantastic product, and one of the byproducts of having such a big, heavy car that doesn't stop it or turn as well as the McLaren is that it's got some mumbo. So I'll be looking to make the most of that into turn one tomorrow.
All right, good luck for the race.
Thanks, mate.
Well, if George keeps referencing bald eagles, I'm going to start calling him Cletus, because he is very enthusiastic about the Ford product. So good to hear from George Medici. Let's hear some more feedback from that session. Here's Charlie.
Guys, I thought I'd quickly grab Cameron Crick before everybody headed back to the Monochrome GT4 paddock. Now, of course, Dean Campbell, Silver Ram second for that one, so that's a pretty good start to the weekend.
Yeah, he did a really good job. Big thing for us has been trying to get him, you know, a bit closer in the times, and that was the highest he's qualified in Silver Ram. I think Hansford was the only one in front of him, and he's, you know, a lot more experienced than Dean. So, yeah, the second last lap he pulled out a really good time, so we're stoked with him.
And for yourself, obviously, heading to next weekend, you're going to sample all the delights of South Australia between now and then, so you look like you're pretty warm at the moment.
Yeah, I am going to spend a couple of weeks over here, going to play some golf next week, and instead of going back home and coming back over, I'll spend 2 weeks. So obviously great to do so many laps this weekend in GT4 to gear us up next weekend for supercars. And
we have been asking the question, how much can you apply for this weekend to next weekend?
Obviously the cars are very different. You're sitting on the left, these are paddle shift, they've got ABS, and the tyres so different. But I think just, it's been a while since I've been here, so just doing so many laps at this track I think is key. Just going through all these corners, especially the high speed stuff over the back, just getting the flow. Like, I know the cars are very different, but yeah, I think it's definitely a good thing leading into the supercar weekend.
Thanks, Cam, all the best.
No worries.
Thanks, Charlie, with Cameron Crick. He's a ripper young bloke. So from modern GT cars to a blast from the GT racing past, we go racing with Group S historic sports cars when we come back to the Bend.